Rúben Amorim wants to avoid the same transfer mistakes of the past, as Manchester United believe there is untapped potential in the squad. United are ready to test Sunderland's resolve for Chris Rigg, more Zirkzee nonsense to run through, Antony loan option, and a rundown of all the latest Manchester United news and transfer news that will keep you right up to date with everything. Welcome to Man United Review. My name's Jamie. Before we get into it, please smash a like on the video. Let's jump straight into it. So let's kick off with all the Amorim stories. There's been a couple of good updates. One from Melissa Reddy from Sky is a good source. Another one from Chris Wheeler as well. Kind of giving a bit of an insight and a behind-the-scenes look as what's been happening with Amorim and everything so far this week that I want to run through with you that I found really interesting. And there's some good kind of points raised in these reports. So firstly, Rúben Amorim intends to focus on training ground progression rather than the transfer window. He has spent the week implementing his playing principles and defining what he wants from United in terms of character and identity. Now, if you remember to Amorim's initial interview, they were the two key points that he was kind of emphasising: identity on the pitch and character of the team, wanting to bring that character back at Manchester United. And he was he said one of the quotes around, when you think back to Manchester United teams of the past, you don't think about formation or tactics, you think the character of the players and the character of the team. So that's obviously a key principle for Rúben Amorim. So that's going to be interesting to see how that develops going forward. The staff are perplexed by how many rumours about Man United players associated with the club. But to be fair on that one, there is no smoke without fire. We are linked with a lot of players, and most of it is bullshit, but there are some names that we are heavily linked with by very credible people that, you know, do transfer rumours and transfer talk for a living, i.e. Fabrizio Romano, and people like that as well. So there is no smoke without fires. But yeah, I kind of agree. There is, you know, we are linked with, you know, God knows how many players on a daily basis. They are excited to tap into the untapped potential of the group and look forward to allowing players to prove themselves. So that was really interesting from Melissa Reddy. Excited to tap into the untapped potential in the group. So effectively, kind of suggesting that maybe players have been playing within themselves, or at least kind of trying to unleash maybe some of the younger talent that we've got in the squad and give them a chance and an opportunity. You know, allowing players to prove themselves, which is all good, kind of saying that. And you know, there are players in this squad that have had multiple chances over multiple different kind of managers. And, you know, I just hope that there comes a time now when you know, people above Amorim, like Dan Ashworth and Omar Brad on that, do say that enough is enough with some players if they don't prove themselves. So if we have this kind of inconsistency from some players in the squad, then I do hope that they are eventually, you know, finally removed, because some players have had plenty of times or chances to prove themselves over different managers, and we're still waiting to find their form again, or we're still hoping that they can be the player that they once were. So that's all very well and good. Untapped potential. You know, I agree. I think there are some players that have not been performing to their best. But is that the manager? Is that the coaching? Is that the players themselves? We'll have to wait and see. Obviously, they brought in Amorim because they believe he can be the one to get the best out of the squad and the best out of the players. So we'll have to, you know, as I mentioned there, we'll have to wait and see what kind of happens. But interesting that they kind of think that actually, you know, there is untapped potential in the squad, and that there are some other reports which will kind of confirm what they're saying in a second, which we'll run through. And then Chris Wheeler said, despite United's defensive injuries, Rúben Amorim is expected to play his favoured 4-3-4 formation. I think you could probably see that from the training video and stuff that was leaked the other day, that he was clearly starting straight away in that 3-4-3 formation, and sees it as that's, you know, and I commend Amorim for doing that. If he does, obviously we'll need to wait for Sunday to kind of see, but, you know, we've had countless managers in the past that have changed their style to suit players, and I kind of think that Amorim's going to do a bit of a reversal, where he's going to hopefully choose his style and then change the players that fit their style, because, you know, we've gone down the same approach of, we'll just adapt to the players that we've got, and we go through that endless cycle of just churning managers over. So I do hope he sticks with it, but it's going to be really interesting to see how the team kind of adapt to it and how quickly they can adapt to it. Chris Wheeler also said, insiders say that no one is expecting a transformation at Portman Road, just a sense of identity and a clearer idea of what will follow under Rúben Amorim. And I think that's important to kind of, you know, maybe manage expectations a little bit, because, you know, yes, it's exciting. It's a change in formation. You know, I kind of, you know, I like the Amorim's interview. Do you know what I mean? Like, I think he's a really good talker, and it does kind of give you like a, like a feel good again, almost with United. But realistically, nothing's going to change overnight. So I kind of think that's important to mention from Chris Wheeler, an important kind of update there, saying, look, no one's expecting wholesale changes immediately. Just an identity, a little kind of clearer maybe pattern of play and stuff. But yeah, managing expectations I thought was kind of good there. And then in meetings this week, the players have been warned about their lifestyles away from the pitch and what is expected of them as professionals. The feeling is that Amorim will be just as tough as Ten Hag, albeit with a more charming approach. So there's no resting on his laurels. He wants that intensity. He's going to be very demanding of his players. But again, you'll go for the other reports, maybe in a slight less of a kind of iron-fisted approach than what Ten Hag was, with a little bit more humour, a little bit more fun, a little bit more relaxation and stuff. Do you know what I mean? But he's not going to, the players, he is going to be very demanding still of his players, according to that, which I like. And the environment was described as demanding but juvenile, that again from Melissa Reddy, who's a good source. And I like that, like a work hard, play hard type attitude. I grew up, I used to be in the armed forces. That was exactly the environment that we used to have as well, which was work hard, play hard. And when you're working, you're at work and you're grafting and you're doing what you're supposed to be doing. But then after that, you can relax and have a laugh and a bit of banter. And I kind of like that kind of blend. But yeah, demanding but juvenile. So 2 reports there saying that, Rúben Amorim is going to be very demanding of his players, but we knew that already with him coming in. That was, what he was expecting at Sporting as well. So there's no reason for him to change. Overall, the message from coaches and the hierarchy is that players are capable of doing much better than what they have shown so far. Again, Melissa Reddy suggesting that people within the club, the hierarchy, Amorim, everyone like that, thinks that we should be doing much better. I don't think, yes, we should be. We're 13th in the league, so yes, we should be doing way better than that. But I think in terms of performances and stuff as well, we do have some good players. Not title-winning players. I don't think we've got a title-winning squad, but, we shouldn't be 13th in the league. That's just not, befitting of the players that we do have. We do have some talent within the squad. And the Muppeteers said exactly the same thing as well. One of the truths that Amorim and everyone stands by is that we have a way better team than what we've been seeing. So that kind of felt like a little bit of a club brief or maybe a club leak from somebody suggesting that people within the club feel that we have got a way better squad and a way better team than what we've been seeing for definitely for this season, but probably going back into last season as well, albeit there were, mitigating circumstances with the injuries and stuff. But yeah, it did feel like a bit of a leak or a brief or something to say, look, everyone, and that's why we've got Amorim in, though, to be fair. We got him in to get the best out of this squad. Because we believe, or the hierarchy believe, that there is talent within the squad. It's just not being, it's just not being either given a chance to shine, or not being used properly, or not being motivated in the right way. And that's why we got Rúben Amorim in. That's why he's our head coach now and not a manager or anything. He is there to coach the players and get the best out of them. So, but again, that is all going to take time. We need to be a little bit, well, me personally anyway, a little bit kind of realistic around, it's not going to be immediate changes, but just small kind of, I'd just like to see a few things on. I'd just like to see us playing as a team again. Being honest with you, I'd be happy with that for the first few weeks, and then obviously develop from there. And then the Muppeteers also said one of the really positive parts of Rúben Amorim is that he is insistent that very quickly we will see what he wants to do. I think very quickly we will be playing like Amorim wants us to play. And that's a good point, actually, because one of the criticisms about Ten Hag was no style of play, no identity. He was here for, 2.5 years? We didn't really see a sustainable style of play. It kept changing from week to week. I think that was probably Ten Hag, wanting to win and was just changing the tactics sometimes to fit the opposition, which is not the worst thing to be doing in the world. But we've seen other managers come in and they can implement their style of play pretty much straight away. I mean, Ange Postecoglou is a prime example of that. Got Tottenham playing, a different style of play pretty much immediately. And I don't see why it would take United like 3 years just to get, us playing like a certain system. So the Muppeteers saying that they're kind of confident that actually you're going to see Amorim's style of play very quickly, which will be interesting to kind of watch, and I'm excited to kind of see it. But again, I'm excited to see how we go going forward. I think Amorim's a good appointment. I'm massively excited by it, but still a little bit reserved. We have to stay grounded. He is not coming in and reinventing the wheel. He's a good coach, a good manager with a good system and a good setup that hopefully can bring the best out of the current squad that we've got. But we're still going to need, in my mind, we're still going to need, players to come in. We're still going to need sign-ins and stuff, to get back to where we want to be. But it's about managing the expectations, I think, as well. But overall, nothing but positivity from those kind of reports. I like the fact that he's still, very demanding. Obviously, the key words from that as well were the, character and identity. I'd love to see us, at least have a bit of fire in our bellies on the pitch sometimes, which has been lacking, because a lot of the times we do just roll over sometimes and let teams tickle our belly, and that shouldn't be accepted at United, in my opinion. But let me know what you think about that in the comments. I found those updates really interesting. Share your thoughts below. I do enjoy reading them, so get involved in the comments and let me know what you think. Now let's move on to some transfer news. So sources claim that Manchester United hierarchy regard Chris Rigg as the most appealing young domestic talent that could potentially be available, and are ready to test Sunderland's resolve to hold on to him. Sir Jim Ratcliffe is keen to make changes in January and has instructed Dan Ashworth to start formalising plans for the transfer window. Sunderland are aware of Manchester United's growing interest in Chris Rigg, but will resist all approaches for the teenager during the January transfer window. A January approach from United is regarded as likely. Now, that came from a local journalist for the Sunderland Echo. Now, sometimes those local journalists do have connections with players and family members and friends and stuff. I don't know the credibility of the source. It was reposted by a credible kind of outlet, though, almost suggesting that, so Chris Rigg is deemed as one of the best domestic talents, which, it's hard to disagree with. 17-year-old, absolutely bossing it at Sunderland in their midfield. The Championship is a really tough league as well to develop in and to kind of shine in. So, and also that they're ready to test Sunderland's resolve in January, but Sunderland, want to try and keep hold of him if they can. So that would be maybe we do make a bid for him in January, possibly loan him back potentially as well. But then also I think there'll be a few other clubs interested in Chris Rigg if he's available. And out of the three kind of young players that I would say are the most heavily linked is Mastan Tuono, Nipan and Chris Rigg. Chris Rigg will probably cost the most as well, so he's going to be the most expensive, I would imagine, out of those three. So yeah, really interesting update. He does look like he's highly regarded. But again, I live in the northeast, so I've got a lot of friends that are Sunderland season ticket holders and stuff, and they absolutely rave about him. So that probably is a little bit biased in my opinion. In my mind, but very highly regarded, interesting update on Chris Rigg. Definitely one to keep an eye on going forward. Now let's go through the Zirkzee nonsense. So United Scout, who have been quite good with team news and every now and again have a good bit of information coming through. Like they broke the Mazraoui playing at number 10 the day before it was kind of officially leaked as well. So I do think maybe they've got some sort of connection at United. I've said that reports of Joshua Zirkzee being unhappy at United are false. There are no talks with Juventus. He is fully focused on the United project. So that can kind of put all the BS rumours that are mainly coming from butthurt Italian outlets around Zirkzee and going back to Juventus, because there's been another story coming out saying Italian outlet La Stampa have claimed the striker has requested his agent to find him another move in the winter, with Juventus a possible destination. There has been speculation over the Dutchman's future since the sacking of Erik ten Hag. The striker was one of the signings requested by the former manager. The report adds that Juve could be his next destination. However, the manager Thiago Motta, thought to be a fan of Zirkzee, Motta has previously worked with Zirkzee at Bologna, who has struggled for form, having so far scored just once in 17 appearances in all competition. I read that in the Manchester Evening News. So again, just another BS kind of Italian outlet that's probably butthurt that Zirkzee decided to come to the Premier League and choose United over Milan, putting out nonsense stories that he's going to go to Juventus and that he's unhappy and stuff. But United Scout, like I said, the first kind of story that I brought to you are actually, are a credible source, I would say. They've had some good information in the past, so I would kind of tend to believe them more than some butthurt Italian outlet. And there was some interesting quotes from Lewandowski regarding Zirkzee, who, he's not a bad striker, is he? So I would probably believe his opinion more than some some Italian outlet, where they were saying that he plays brilliantly with his back to goal and can hold up the ball, play with 1 or 2 touches and make the wingers go forward. It takes time to adapt, and that's normal when you join a big club with high expectations. He is a striker who can help those around him if you know how to use him. And I thought that was a key point from Lewandowski. This is when he did an interview with Rio Ferdinand recently, saying if you know how to use him. And I do think that Zirkzee's been a bit misprofiled. I've kind of said in some of my match reactions that we've effectively been playing him as Marouane Fellaini 2.0, just by hoofing long balls up to him, which I don't necessarily think fits his style of play. I do think he's lacking a bit of confidence. He's a young lad, 23 years old, coming from a different league to the Premier League, which is not an easy transition to make. And you need to judge him after, like, he needs way more than 3 months, 4 months to come in. So yeah, let's put those kind of nonsense stories to bed. Ultimately, if he doesn't perform by the end of the season, then yes, there might be a decision to make. But at the minute, you've got to give him some time and you've got to let him settle in and bed in. It'll be far too early to be judging Zirkzee, in my opinion. But let me know what you think about that in the comments. And then the final few stories I've got for you is Besiktas are set to make an official offer to sign Antony on loan in January. That came from a fairly credible Turkish outlet. There have been a few rumours recently, haven't there, about potentially Antony going in January, more likely on loan because of his wage, and I don't think they're going to get like a buyer for him with his current form and everything else around him. You know, a loan off option if for him to try and kind of improve or pick up his form with the potential to sell him in the summer would not be the end of the world. But you know, we've got to bear in mind that obviously he was playing at the right wing back position for Amorim's first training session, albeit that he only had 10 first-team players available because everyone else was on international duty, so he was just playing probably through default. But, you know, we have heard reports that everybody's going to be getting a clean slate at United, and who knows, Antony could turn into, you know, the best right wing-back in the Premier League under Rúben Amorim in a different system, in a different formation. I highly doubt that, but, you know, we need to give everybody a chance or a second chance. So I think between now and obviously the January transfer window, which is 41 days away, I read today, you know, everybody's going to have a clean slate, an opportunity, and then we'll know a little bit more around, you know, between now and then, who's playing, who's not playing, who's getting game time, who isn't, who his rotation options are, who his substitutions are. We're going to know way more before the transfer window, and that was going back to what we've been saying in loads of previous videos around, you know, our transfer priorities could shift. So it could be that actually Antony becomes an important player in that system and we move focus to maybe a centre-half instead. But, you know, on the other side, there have been multiple reports about him potentially going out on loan in January. So Besiktas are another team potentially interested in him. United are already targeting both a left wing back and striker next year and could even move for loan options in January if they feel a new addition could be a deciding factor in determining the success of their campaign. That came from Richard Fay. So again, I think the striker position just depends on how everybody does, because if he's going to play Rashford up front, Rashford, Højlund, obviously Zirkzee there as well. We've got Chido Will Be Martin coming through, who looks a fantastic young player that they're trying to fast track as well. So, you know, I'm not so sure about the striker position at the moment. Obviously, again, we're going to need to wait and see what happens over the next few weeks and months, and whether the change in formation or the change in style does actually benefit our strikers before going out and getting a striker, in my opinion. But left wing back, spoke about that multiple times over the last few days and videos around the targets and the kind of rumours around Davies and Kerkez, Alvaro Carreras, etc., all kind of linked with us as well. So, but Richard Fay also said that Manchester United are unlikely to pursue Kolo Muani as Rúben Amorim aims to avoid past transfer mistakes like signing out of form players. Now, that's a good point, actually, because with Muani specifically, he's not in good form at PSG. He was outstanding for Stuttgart. And you know, that's a really interesting kind of take on it, is because if you'd signed even Muani on loan, you're hoping that he finds his form from 2 years ago, but that doesn't always work and it's not always easy to do. Like, we've got players in our squad that we're hoping to find form from 2 years ago, which hasn't kind of materialized or happened yet, albeit there might be, you know, circumstances around that, you know. So that was an interesting kind of point from Rich Fay around, you know, trying to not sign players that are out of form on loan to try to help them rediscover their form, because it just might not work. So that was an interesting interesting kind of way to think about it going forward. But let me know what you think in the comments. Let me know what you think about all the other topics discussed in today's video, because that is you all up to date with the latest Manchester United news and transfer news. Don't forget to smash a like on the video on your way out. Subscribe to the channel if you are new, and I will see you in the next one.